Hello, I'm here with Jackie Bounds. We work together. Just start off with telling kind of basically what you do here at the church and how long you've been doing it.
Yeah. I've been here for almost 8 years in October, and I started out as a youth ministry assistant here to our youth pastors. And a couple years into that job, I transitioned to this job, which is the programming director for youth ministries. And I plan and implement a lot of our activities and events and work with David and Chris. And I also do a 8-step recovery group called The Landing for middle school and high school students. And I've done that for about 6 years now. And I do a little bit of everything in between.
Well, awesome. So we're going to talk a little bit about evangelism and evangelism kind of through your context and where you help out, where you have gone to church for a long time. So kind of starting off, how would you say how BFC, how do they fulfill the mandate of the Great Commission, making disciples of all nations?
Yeah, I think specifically with student ministries, our goal is to teach kids about God and to help them teach others about God. And so we have a lot of activities and events and programs that allow them to gain the skills and tools they need to become stronger in their relationship with God and to grow in that. We kind of have our kids, we think of our kids in different groups of core and community and connected kids. And so there are certain programs that we do for kids who are more connected and more of the kids who have solid faith, that we teach them and guide them to be more evangelical in their schools and in their homes and just in this community.
Awesome. So you said you lead for The Landing, which is a kind of a celebrate recovery for youth. Would you say evangelism is part of that at all, and if so, kind of how is that?
Definitely. I, like I said, I've been doing this for 6 years now, and have seen the change in kids throughout those years, and some that have even graduated college now. But one of the big things I think is that we see our relationship with God and just being as a Christian that we want to be healthy all the way around. So we want to be spiritually healthy, we want to be physically healthy, we want to be mentally and emotionally healthy. And so The Landing provides kids with the skills and opportunities to grow in their emotional and mental health, the stuff that they've been dealing with that's tough stuff, divorce, loss of a loved one, depression, anxiety, anger, divorce, all of these things that they struggle with on a daily basis. And so we teach them how God is in that tough stuff, and how God helps us get through the tough stuff and the reason for that stuff. And so because of that program, we are able to see kids that are becoming healthier and have a balanced healthiness as a Christian.
Yeah, and you have your licensing and counseling, right? And so does that help in that whole situation too, or?
Yeah, I think that's something that God had just called me to, is to pursue my licensure to be a professional counselor, and I've seen how God has used The Landing in my own life to make me more healthy spiritually, because I'm healthier mentally and emotionally.
Yeah. Well, awesome. That's real good. So next question. How would you say you measure successes and failures within ministry in regards to evangelism?
Yeah, I think we see success as the quality of their relationship with God, the quality of their one-on-one time with God, the quality of the people that our students are surrounding themselves with, and the quality of our youth workers that are investing their lives. So we really gauge success on looking at one student and saying, what's the quality that they're receiving from our church, like what's the quality of love and what's the quality of guidance they're receiving from not only our youth ministries but our church as a whole, and then we get to see the benefit and get to see the results of that stuff is, I think, where we gain success and where we see success in youth ministry.
Awesome. So, same sort of question. What about failures, would you say?
Yeah. I think with failures, we see that it is hard for kids because they're all in these different levels. They're still learning what Christianity means. They're learning about God. There are some kids who have no church background, who grow up in homes that have never prayed at a dinner table, have never read the Bible together, have never had family devotion time. So we have like this end of the spectrum, and then we have kids who have been invested in and have been to church every Sunday of their life, and have parents who have solid faith. And so I think that is where we may struggle in youth ministry as a whole, is because we can't just guide ourselves to one group of kids and say, okay, this is what they need to learn, because we have this huge spectrum of people. I think that is for the general church as well, but we have this huge spectrum that we're trying to reach and trying to teach.
Yeah.
And so we want to teach generally, but we want to teach specifically at the same time. And so it can be tough to lay out the foundation and then say, okay, this is what we need to aim for, because people are all different places in their faith walk.
Yeah, that makes sense. So now, thinking specifically about some of the barriers or obstacles within BFC, within youth ministry, what are some of those that makes evangelism tough or impossible, or more closer to impossible? What are some of those, and how do you, or your youth ministry, how does that overcome it? How do you guys overcome that?
Yeah, I think for us, youth ministry specific, because that's what I know the most, but that we have different events, and we have different programs, and we have different things that we do throughout the school year and throughout our calendar year that focus on specific groups of kids. So we're able to teach kids about Jesus who don't know, and we're able to deeply invest spiritually in kids. We have, a retreat every year, and we have small groups that really invest in the kids who are super connected and have a relationship with the Lord that they want to grow. So we're able to give them more leadership skills and tools. And so I think we try to do that through that time. Even on our Wednesday nights, we have rec time that kind of draws some of our community kids in, but then we get to go into service and where they're invested in spiritually. And just as we are, recruiting youth workers and people in, we are recruiting people that have different skills and different tools, because we have kids who have different needs.
Yeah, definitely, and no kid is the same. So one of the big obstacles is finding how do I minister to this student who's completely different from this student.
Right.
And so that's by having different events you can get around that. So so now speaking of the successes, how do you celebrate those? How do you affirm successes?
It's so exciting to me and to us as a youth staff when a kid accepts Christ. We celebrate that. We yell and scream and cheer, and we tell everybody about it. And what's even more exciting, I think, is when that kid then brings a friend. So on a Wednesday night, they come in and they're like, "Hey, I brought my friend from school," and they're so excited because, and they can't wait to introduce us to their friend that they, that may have never been to church before. And we're excited when those kids, choose to become baptized and choose to further their walk with Christ. And we celebrate those things. Those are, the most exciting times, I think, in ministry, when we really get to see visually a kid take a step closer to the Lord. that's how we celebrate. I mean, we really celebrate. Like, I mean, it is a party
Yeah.
for us when those kids make decisions.
Yeah. Awesome. So last question. So as you think about evangelism through BSC as a whole, what are some factors that influence that? That could be positive or negative.
Yeah.
That could be theological, social, community context. Just what pops out in your mind as some of the major factors?
One of the biggest things that comes to mind is just that within the last couple of years, our church has shifted, I think, from being a middle class, upper middle class church to having more community involvement, and that's really exciting to see. We have an after school program that has brought a lot of community kids in whose families are in church, who would never step in church any other time, but because we have a gym and we have some activities that we're doing throughout the week, it draws them into the church, and because of that, we have drawn them into youth ministry, and we've gotten them involved, and we meet their parents when they pick them up, and on Sundays it's exciting to see a family come to church together that is in our neighborhood that we may have had no connection with before, but now all of a sudden families are showing up and able to walk to church, and that's exciting when I live in the neighborhood and get to drive and see these families walking together. It's very exciting. I think that is one of the greatest things. We've had some community cookouts and some community events that have really drawn people to just come get a hamburger or a hot dog, but then lead to a conversation, and then lead to them coming on a Sunday and lead to them accepting Christ, and it's exciting to see that.
Yeah. Well, we were talking earlier, and you're telling me a little bit about how Bethany, the community of Bethany has shifted.
Yeah.
Can you talk just a little bit about how it's changed and how our church has started to shift?
Yeah, the community of Bethany is interesting. We're here, Southern Nazarenes next door. There's a giant, well, not giant, small school that takes up a giant part of Bethany, but it's a pretty low income area. A lot of diversity in our neighborhood, and I think that has really shifted over the last few years, and it's exciting to see that we are able to come alongside these people in our neighborhood and support them and pray for them and care for them, and it's exciting to see when they do make those decisions to grow in a relationship with the Lord.
Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you, and you have a good day.
Hope it recorded.